Yay, we made it. We're here. Thank you guys for being here once again to finish off our week together. Today we're going to be doing some reflection on our creative lives, just as we started the week off with that. We're going to end in that look inwards moment. You have a choice for our writing time today. If you want to revisit some earlier writing, by all means, one of the lists maybe that you didn't get to earlier in the week. If you missed Monday's video, we did it that day, so you can go back and take a look if you missed it. Maybe you can take a look at one of the favorite things you've written this week. You might want to try making up a rule for it to, if it's, imposing it, as we worked on a little earlier as well. You could also take one of your pieces and change the genre. So, for instance, turning your 3-card story into a poem, right? Shortening it up, or doing something different with it, or taking your poem and turning it into a spoken monologue, right? Vice versa, anything like that. So sometimes using something you've already written is a great way to inspire a new piece of writing when you're stuck, right? So that's another great thing to do when your creativity feels like it's a little bit dried up, right? So you can bring a new spark into a piece of writing, and sometimes it evolves into something completely different, right? I've really enjoyed sometimes working with little something that starts as a poem and then it becomes a flash fiction story and then it becomes a full fleshed out short story. So that can be a fun way of working a piece of writing you've already at least started in some way or another. So that's one option you have for the free write time. Alternately, and you might decide to do both of these if you have enough time today, but we're trying to keep this short at 15 minutes. So alternately, you could do the reflection on your creative life going forward. So if you choose to do that, I'll give you a couple steps and I'll post them again during your writing time to remind you. But the first thing you're going to want to do is sit down and make a list of questions for yourself about your creative life going forward. So for instance, I'll read you a couple from my journal. One of my questions is, what projects will I start next? And what projects will I finish next? How will I find structure in my life going forward so I have enough support and motivation to write on a regular basis? Will I write under a pen name, and what will that pen name be? How do I keep connecting with joy of the writing process over the fear of completion of goals? And this workshop is one of those ways that I'm grappling with that one, right? The joy in the process, really finding that and connecting with the joy of process. So those are a couple of my questions from my long list of writing questions. So that's step one. Number 2, write a letter to your wise author figure inside of you, okay? And it might be, you might think of them as, another kind of figure, your wise owl, your sage inside, your wild creative soul, or maybe an animal, right? Whatever it is that you can envision as being that source of wisdom inside of you. And while you write this letter to them, you're going to want to thank them, right? Express your gratitude. And then also ask them about some of these questions, right? Actually pose these questions to them. The final step, step 3, is to write a letter from that wise author inside, or whoever that figure is for you. And the letter is being written from that wise author inside to you, to yourself. So in order to really access this, you're going to want to think about those voices in your head that we were playing with on Thursday, right? So imagine, what would your wise author say to you? If you can't already hear a voice, if that voice is too small to even hear, imagine, what would that wise author inside say to you in answer to some of those questions? So maybe pick your top, say, 3 questions or something like that. Write them in the letter. Take a pause and then write that letter back. So you're really looking for what guidance they might give to you, right? It's really important that you do all 3 steps of this one. So if you run out of time, just pause the video, give yourself the time you need. If you need to take a break between steps 2 and 3, by all means do so, but please don't stop at step 2, because that can feel frustrating, right? That can feel where we get a little stuck. It's step 3 where you really want to tune into that voice inside and get some help in terms of finding some of those answers, because they're already in there, right? They're inside of you. It's just a matter of accessing them and giving yourself the time and the space to do so. So take your writing time and we'll reconvene in a few moments. Enjoy. All right. Woohoo. How'd it go? Hopefully, well. Hopefully, you could start to hear that voice. I'm always amazed that once I start letting my imagination take hold, the voice I'm looking for usually does show up. It's pretty amazing. So, the last thing we're going to discuss today is the idea of sharing our writing with the world. And I'm just going to go over some ways to do that, a little more out of the box ways to do that with pandemic safety in mind. And it's in keeping with the notion of exploring process, right, over final product. So, some things we can do that may bring some joy to the process of sharing our writing. Ideas such as writing a short piece, say a short poem, in chalk on the sidewalk, then taking a picture of it and let it wash away in the rain. And I've seen so many more chalk drawings happening out in our neighborhood anyway throughout this pandemic. So that would be a neat one to do. Writing it out in your window, right? Large enough so that people can read it from the street. You could post a poem you've written on Facebook or Instagram, right? With your name on it or anonymously. You could blog if you don't already. You could leave a copy of your poem somewhere in a public place. You could print up or write up a piece of your writing and mail it. Mail it to a trusted friend or relative. You could send it to a random address if you're feeling brave. I haven't done that one yet. You could mail it to an address where you used to live or where your grandparents used to live. But of course, if you're doing something like this, that's a little more boundary crossing, be respectful, right? Imagine, just picture that kids could be opening up this mail, right? So nothing creepy or scary or threatening or confusing to a potential reader, right? Just a gift of writing. You could find a writing pen pal. You could join a writers group and share it with others who also value creativity. Of course, there's also the traditional route. You could send it out for publication or self-publish and sell your work on Amazon. So I'd love to hear any other ideas for safely and creatively sharing writing. So once again, feel free to send them along to me. And in closing, I wanted to send a really big thanks out to you all for sharing this writing time with me. I've really enjoyed this week of writing with you, and I just hope that you keep writing and that you really take care of yourself and your creativity, because it's something that's really, really important that we all nurture and nourish, sometimes even in the toughest of times. So please keep doing it. Please keep in touch, and I hope that our paths cross again. Take care.